Good morning. It's Monday, February 26th. Thanks for joining us on Up to the Minute on this Monday morning. I'm Dr. Amy Tan, Dean of HCC's English and Communications, and I'm happy to be joined by Dr. Nicholas Cox, our History Department Chair. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. It's Monday. It's great to see you again. We had a holiday last week. Was that last week? So it's been a couple weeks, right?
I know, right? It's the time. It's just it goes so fast, and then the days are long, and it's just confusing.
Hey, spring break is after next week. It's going quick.
It's coming up. I know we are all looking forward to that. And it was great to see you in person at the Faculty Senate Conference on Friday.
Yeah, it was a wonderful event. I went to a lot of great panels all day long. I really enjoyed your thoughts on AI and rigor in the morning. But it's always good to see faculty and leadership at the conference every year.
It is. It's so fantastic it's hard, I know, to plan those days and get them, but it's so nice to get everybody in the same space and talking about important things. And with that, we have a great show for you today. We're going to talk about some great things today. Before we get to our special guests, we want to remind everyone where they can find us.
That's right, Dr. Tan. We are live on the Houston Community College District's Facebook page and on YouTube. We're also on X, LinkedIn, and on HCCTV at noon, 5, and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday.
And today is our Mental Health Monday, and we'll be talking about child and adolescent mental health with Dr. Freeny. Good morning, Dr. Freeny.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And you're the director of the Center for School Behavioral Health for the Mental Health America of Greater Houston. And, uh,
Yes.
and we're looking forward to hearing more from you in just a few minutes.
All right.
First, we have a student success story. This is a student who has just graduated, and she's special to us because she worked at HCC TV last semester. We're joined by Pamela Esquivel, film teacher at Paul Revere Middle School, HCC graduate, and our featured Credentials of Value student. Welcome back to the show, Pammy.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm happy to see you back. Everyone in the studio is happy that you're here today. HCC is so proud of you. Your accomplishments are too many to name in your title. You're an HCC graduate, a current U of H student. You're working on your bachelor's in media production, and you're also an HISD middle school film teacher. It's no wonder that you were selected by Dr. Norma Perez as February's Board of Trustees Credentials of Value student. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, let's begin with what you've been doing since you graduated from HCC in December. And what are your plans for the future?
So honestly, my plans for the future is that I want to become a film professor at a college. That's why I kind of started joining U of H because I want to at least obtain a teaching certification through the College of Arts and Liberal Arts and Sciences College.
That's fantastic. And it would be a wonderful thing to have an alumni back in our program teaching film. So I hope that won't be too long. I know every class that you take is one more class towards achieving that goal.
Right.
We had you on the show in 2022 to discuss a film short that you produced. What made you decide to pursue a degree in filmmaking at HCC, and how does that tie into your decision to study film at a university?
So originally, the reason why I decided to go to HCC is because I graduated during the year of the pandemic. And so it was really hard because everything was online. So I decided to take a year off and until things like calmed down. And so when everything did, I was like, well, I'll just go for my associate's degree, just for a ticket to work. So I just applied to ACC, and that's how I found the filmmaking program. Eventually, my time throughout ACC, I gave myself 2 years to 2 years and a half at most to do the most research that I can for like resources and how to afford university. And so I started going down the list, and so that's how I found UH. And UH luckily was I was lucky enough to get awarded a scholarship because of my grades from ACC and things like that. So I decided to go to U of H to pursue a bachelor's.
Well, it's wonderful to hear that you knew what was best for you. And I imagine there's a lot of students feeling the same way about that pandemic year and trying to figure out how to make that transition from high school to college. And U of H is one of our strongest partners. And I will share with you that Dr. Cox and I are both also proud UH graduates. So I know I'm glad to hear you're having a good experience there. Um, and you're already working as a teacher, and I imagine that is going to really help as you're building your CV and in your journey. And last week you were awarded a Credential Value award. What were your first thoughts when you got the news?
So when I first got the email from shout out to Tony, she was my supervisor at HCC. I actually surprised. I was like, what am I getting awarded for? So I actually had to like look up what Credential Value was. And it turns out that it's a very new thing in Texas that they started doing to award students that are getting their degrees. And so once I found out what it was, I was like, okay, this is a really big deal. And so I was like, okay, so like I talked to my mom and I was like, what should I do? She's like, don't pass up the opportunity, accept the award. So I was like, okay. So I emailed Tony back and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. So it was a really big deal and it caught me by surprise. I didn't expect it just goes to show like how much your hard work and effort and the time that you put into your work like actually pays off.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you're feeling that because, we, again, HCCTV is so proud of you and the work that you've done. And yes, Credential Value is it's a new emphasis from our state board where we're helping students to, when they're coming into college, to already be thinking about where they want to go and making sure that you're on the path to complete that Credential Value that will indeed lead to hopefully a job. And that's it's wonderful that you're already working and you just graduated in December. What has your experience been so far as a transfer student at U of H?
So the transition from community college to university has been fairly interesting because like obviously like community college I was staying at home, so like I actually managed to afford enough to transition from a dorm, and so I started living on campus. It opens up like a wide variety of opportunities. So I got to organize my time to study. I managed to organize my time to actually join a club. I'm actually a team leader for the Life and Arts branch at Coog TV at UH. And also like my classes, but it's
Residential experience it's a completely different world, and I'm really glad that you're having that experience. And you are still able to balance a job with going to school and living on campus. So and joining a club, that's just wonderful. So as a fellow educator, what made you decide to become a teacher and why film specifically?
So originally, I started my educational career at A-Leaf ISD. I'm also an alumni graduate from A-Leaf ISD as well. I needed a better paying job, better hours, better paying opportunity because during the pandemic, I wasn't getting enough money. And also, like, I wanted to start building my experience while going to school. So I actually ended up falling into the educational system as an Avid tutor, and I worked for an Avid tutor for about a year, and then from there, while at the same time I started building internships, in film and things like that through, my professor, Kate Phillips, and my other professor, Jenny Waldo. I was also an intern for her as well. And from there, I was able to learn more things about film. And they actually gave me like really strong advice on like, if I wanted to become a film professor or a film teacher as well. They gave me access to like materials and all that. So one thing for sure is like as an educator, I really strongly advise do your research as much as possible. And also like get to know your students one-on-one because every class will function differently. Every student will function differently. And like vastly, the most of all is like the relationship itself with these students. You know, the more that you are more personal with them on a more academic level, the more that you're able to like utilize that to your advantage and see that like, are they actually learning? You know, you have to like pinpoint from a psychological perspective, like the different learning styles that are out there, you know?
Well, two of our stellar faculty members here, so happy to shout them out. And Pammy, you are well on your way. You've already tapped into what I think is the key and the most important part of being a teacher. And so I want to thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Pamela Esquivel, HCC Filmmaking Graduate and current UH student, as well as a film teacher at Paul Revere Middle School. She was also selected by Dr. Norma Perez as an HCC Credential Value student. We're going to have all your post info in our post after the show. And thanks again. We're just so happy to see you and happy that you could come back and talk to us.
No, thank you. It was a wonderful thing to come back, especially after coming back about a year or so ago.
We'll just keep shining, keep doing what you're doing, and stay in touch.
Thank you.
And I'll pass it over to Dr. Cox.
Thank you, Dean Tan and Pammy. That was a wonderful episode. We're going to turn our attention to Dr. Jamie Freeny. Welcome to the show, Dr. Freeny.
Thank you.
So before we get into today's topic, give us a little background on yourself and your organization.
Sure. So I serve as the director of the Center for School Behavioral Health at Mental Health America of Greater Houston. And Mental Health America of Greater Houston is Houston's longest serving mental health education and advocacy organization. And we operate from a systems change framework. So we provide professional development to educators and youth-facing adults and convene stakeholders to bridge access for networks, access for mental and behavioral health services for adults, for youth, for children. I, as I mentioned, lead the Center for School Behavioral Health, and that's one department under Mental Health America of Greater Houston, where we do focus on child and adolescent mental health, primarily through convening both the education with the clinical side to, again, help to increase access, build referrals, bridges of referrals, and connect service providers, as well as through professional development, which we primarily do through the school system, but we also work with or train all youth individuals or adults that work with youth. So we've trained educators, counselors, police departments, we've trained in the juvenile justice system, we've trained out of school time organizations such as your Boys and Girls Club, Big Sisters, Big Brothers. So we help to spread education and knowledge and awareness on all those things that would help to support a person's healthy development of their mental and emotional wellness.
I mean, that's remarkable. It really sounds like MHA has connections to anywhere and everywhere that you might find Houston's children, Houston's adolescents. I mean, that's a remarkable outreach that you guys have. So our topic today really is child and adolescent mental health. And we'd like to know, what are some of the biggest challenges facing youth in regard to mental health?
So that's a great question. One of the major challenges is the capacity to meet the growing needs. So we have a mental health professional shortage in the state of Texas, and it's not a new thing to us. We have been functioning with a professional shortage of mental health providers for quite some time. However, we've seen the need for mental and behavioral health services increase over the past years, especially with COVID. And so that increases has continued to outgrow our capacity. So one challenge, of course, is making sure that we have counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists that are trained specifically to work with children and with youth, and that we are having the numbers that are needed. So, for example, it's nationally recommended that at a school there be one counselor to every 250 students. Well, here in the state of Texas, that ratio can range from one counselor to 300 or 400 students to we've seen as high as one counselor to 900 plus students. So we do have a ways to go. And another challenge, I think, is early identification of those needs, because oftentimes adults seem to think that children are not impacted by mental illness or by chronic stress. And we know that they are. And it really interrupts their brain development and their ability to learn in the classroom, socialize among friends. And so one of the challenges that we have is being able to identify what those concerns may be early on so that we can intervene early on. And so with continued advocacy around assessments within the clinical setting, universal screenings within schools, we can start to help overcome some of those challenges.
No, that's great to hear that you guys you're keeping your attention on all these factors. I think a lot of us, especially educators or parents, we know that social media or COVID or just the general population increase has meant more and more need for mental health services. But let's maybe turn it in a positive direction. What are some opportunities, some things that our youth have available to them to address issues?
Absolutely. So the state has done an amazing job in pulling together a collaboration between pediatric mental and behavioral health professionals through a CPAN and a program called TChat. So the CPAN, which is a provider network that allows for exchange of ideas, consultation for maybe primary care providers who need that child or adolescent psychiatry kind of consult so that they are able to help meet the needs of that child without that child having to go to another provider, having to set another appointment. So there is that collaboration going on along with this integration of mental and behavioral health care into clinical settings and hospital settings. Another thing is the use of technology. So TChat is another great program that is providing free access to psychiatry for children who are in crisis. And this is something that the school can opt in and they can connect families to care. And this care is provided, like I said, free of cost. There are additional therapy sessions that the child can receive, and then they try to connect them with their primary care physician. There are a number of other policies, such as incentives for mental health clinicians and tuition reimbursement for individuals going into this field, and also co-locating services so that these mental and behavioral health services are more accessible by families. But I think the biggest opportunity that we have is to start to engage young people in this conversation. You mentioned social media. There are many, many, many other stressors that are contributing to the overall stress and anxiety of young people that just weren't there when we were young, or they weren't as bad when we were young. And so in order for us to truly develop strategies that are going to really reduce or eliminate some of the crisis and reduce the suicide rates among young people, then we have to engage them in the conversation so that they can let us know what's most helpful for them.
Well, thank you. We've got just another minute or two here, but I'd like to ask, what are a couple of things, I guess we might call them characteristics or traits that people need to be aware of to address child and adolescent mental health issues? I'm thinking about, for example, just the surveillance and education notions that we have, or policy related stuff, things that can help all of us with teenagers and adolescents and mental health issues?
So on a policy level, we truly need to vote. That's the number one, the biggest thing that anyone can do is get out and vote. And by voting, we can have an influence on some of these policies that are having a negative impact on our youth. We have to remember our youth don't make the policies, they don't make the rules, and oftentimes they're not engaged in the conversation. So we have to take ownership that the systems that are in place are not helpful. And so it's up to us to then shift our thinking so that we're able to really be realistic about solutions that we're providing. I'd say on an individual or personal level, it's learning to be empathetic. It's learning to listen without judgment. And there are often three things I tell parents when it comes to talking to your children, supporting their mental health, regardless if they're a child or a teen. The first thing, the most important thing, listen. The second thing, validate their feelings, validate their concerns. And the third thing, remind them that you care, remind them they are loved, remind them they are safe. And then you can go on to find additional resources, talking to their primary care physician or talking to their school. So all kinds of ways to contribute to improving mental health for our young people, but for parents and for those that are working directly with young people, listen, validate, and remind them that you care.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dr. Freeny. That's great advice for people to live in their daily lives as we have adolescents or teenagers in our lives. And of course, it is now early voting, so we can practice that as citizens as well. Thank you so much, very much. We appreciate your time, Dr. Freeny. The Director of the Center for School Behavioral Health for MHA of Greater Houston. We'll have your information in a post after our show. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Excellent. Wonderful advice from Dr. Freeny. Thank you, Dr. Cox. And we have some news, events, and announcements to get to. And to start us off, we have a Black History Luncheon. This is our scholarship fundraiser. It's that time of the year when HCC celebrates Black History Month, and it all culminates with the annual Black History Committee's scholarship fundraiser. This year, it will be a luncheon to launch HCC scholarship fundraising campaign with the theme, Honoring a Legacy of Trailblazers in Our Midst. Besides one of our very own trailblazers, Dr. Margaret Ford Fisher, the VIP luncheon will also highlight keynote speaker Martha Castex Tatum, City of Houston's Mayor Pro Tem. As always, funds raised will directly contribute to the success of our deserving students here at Houston Community College. That luncheon will be 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. on Thursday, February 29th. It's going to be at our 3100 main building in the auditorium. Be sure to check the post after the show for more info. And if you need to, you can get a haircut.
That's right, Dr. Tan. The barber program is offering free haircuts on Tuesdays and Wednesdays at HCC Central, and our cosmetology program will also offer free services on Tuesdays at Eastside and Northline campus. For free haircuts, 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., Tuesday and Wednesday, HCC Central. For cosmetology services, 9 a.m. to noon Tuesdays, Eastside and Northline. Certainly anybody who would like to take advantage of these opportunities and maybe spread the word, let people know that if they know someone who might take advantage of a free haircut or cosmetology services. But check our post after the show for more information.
It's a win-win for our students and for the community. February Financial Aid Month, get a coach. Since February is Financial Aid Awareness Month, it's the perfect time to consider a coaching session. They're private, confidential sessions that help students understand budgeting, assess their financial aid package, and also the refunds that they get from financial aid. You can find out information on how to reduce your student loan debt, navigate student loan repayment, and emergency funding to help students stay in school. Be sure to check the post after the show for more info.
Now, Vocable submissions for the Creative Writing Club are hosting a donut party. If you aren't sure how to submit your creative works of art, they'd like to help if you'd like help with editing, or if you just want to learn more about Vocable, the Creative Writing Club and Vocable editors will soon host a submission party. Students can bring their works to submit, or they can even log into a computer and the club will will help them compose something amazing. That is Monday, March 4th, 2 to 4 p.m. at the Katy campus in the computer classroom. Check our post after the show for more information.
So much creative work going on. We also have our drama production, Doomed by Destiny. This is Oedipus Rex, the ancient story of a man who seeks to uncover the murderer of the once king, only to find out that he is that murderer, trapped by fate and doomed by destiny. For the last 2,500 years, Oedipus Rex has been seen as one of the finest of all the Greek tragedies. If you want to catch this show, it's going to be 7:30 p.m. Wednesday to Friday, March 6th through the 8th, 2 p.m. Saturday, March 9th at HCC Northeast Caldwell Black Box Theater. For more information and to register, check the post after the show.
All right, well, it's not too late to register for spring classes. Although most sessions like regular term and second start have already begun, we do have a second 8-week session starting March 18th. We offer classes online anytime, online on a schedule, in person, hybrid, as well as hybrid labs. To learn more about HCC programs, start dates, and options to cover costs, go to hccs.edu/apply.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cox, and thank you for being here with me today.
It was a great Monday morning with you.
Absolutely. And coming up for Tasty Tuesday, we welcome Central Market to talk about its cooking classes, which are featuring special offerings for Black History Month. And Farrell Prestige, co-chair of HCC's Black History Committee, will be here to tell us all the details about this week's VIP Black History Luncheon. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time.